Okay, so our next one
Yes.
is we're going to take a look at those experiencing a salty taste. So again, using sweet to kind of balance that out. So we're doing a sweet potato mash for this recipe. Obviously, if you're experiencing a salty taste, using foods that are low in sodium, just looking at those packages that say reduced sodium, low sodium, looking at the nutrition facts label, making sure it has, when you're comparing a sodium, finding that product that has the least one. I always like to tell people when you're looking at the percent daily value, for a portion size, if it has more than 15%, that's considered high amount of sodium. Anything lower than, or 5, kind of lower than 15 is considered a low amount. So you want to kind of specifically aim for the less salty foods.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, we're doing it's like a baked potato.
Yes.
That's what we're doing, except with a sweet potato. So pretty straightforward. Who likes sweet potato? Yeah, it's delicious.
The season coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Thanksgiving around the corner, this is a great dish to have. We're starting to get excited about all the orange vegetables out there. Sweet potato is delicious. It can be sort of a pain to cut through because it is very hard. So with this dish here, all we have to do is wash it, and we're going to score the top. So you can get your knife and just kind of tap it like that, just so you have a little line. That's it. That goes on a pan, and again, you can line it with parchment paper. That goes into the oven, and you want to roast it for about an hour. Now, the thing that I find that works the best with sweet potatoes is don't preheat the oven. Throw it in there cold, and then set the oven. I find that it cooks a lot more evenly. The soft gets really nice, the inside gets really nice and soft without the outside burning. But it does take a little bit more time because we do want to slowly cook it. We want to get to that mashed, soft state like Stephanie talked about.
Yeah.
All right, so wouldn't you know it? Yes, we have one. That was very quick. Okay, so just because of that line there, if I push the ends, you can see how the jacket opens up. And the bottom is like super caramelized. So this, in terms of sweetness,
really flavorful.
definitely hitting the mark, yeah.
And so do you need to put any oil on the sweet potato or
No
anything?
oil. No, nothing. You're gonna get this like really sticky sap that comes out of the bottom, but no oil. Now from this point here, and that's like really low maintenance. We just threw potatoes in the oven, and already we have like a really nice side dish, right?
You don't have to add anything. Like if you just wanted to have that plain, that's cool. But we're gonna enhance the sweetness even more for those experiencing that salty taste.
Absolutely. So we're gonna top this off, and you can obviously, there's a wide selection of different toppings you can add. We wanna go with sort of like a breadcrumb, almost like a gratin topping. So what we start with is some breadcrumbs that we've toasted in a pan just until you get some nice golden brown color here. I'm gonna add some rosemary to that as well, just because rosemary is tasty and it goes really well with the sweet potato. It's gonna add quite a bit of flavor as well.
Yeah.
This can be any woody herb. You can add thyme, you can add sage. If you're kind of turned off of herbs altogether, then skip the herbs. Sometimes, I know we've talked about like a little bit of spice or heat. You gotta use what sort of works for you.
And like I mentioned, some people might experience kind of this no taste at all or just bland. So again, flavoring, boosting up the flavors with different herbs or spices can actually help stimulate some of those or enhance the flavor of some of those foods. And of course, we are talking about, if you're experiencing a salty taste, bringing in some more sweet foods. If you have chronic diseases like diabetes, it's important to factor that in. You obviously want to make sure that you're eating well, but working with a registered dietitian could help manage both the taste changes and controlling blood sugars if that's something that you need.
Okay, so we have our breadcrumb, we have a little bit of rosemary. I just added just a little bit of olive oil. And again, we just want to warm it up until you start to smell the rosemary and everything comes together. Can everyone smell the rosemary? Okay, so we're good. We're done. So we're going to put that into a dish. And we're going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Now, Parmesan cheese does have a little bit of that salty flavor, right? A little bit of salt with sweet will actually make the sweet taste even sweeter. So that's a trick that you can try. However, if you do want to avoid it altogether,
just take
not necessary.
To put the Parmesan cheese in. Yeah.
So we're going to add it at this point here. And we're going to add a little even more sweetness. We're going to add a little bit of maple syrup as well.
And other sweet things you could include, in this recipe or others, honey, maple syrup, fruit, even dried fruits like raisins or dates. These are all things that could be mixed in to balance out that salty taste to enhance the sweetness of a dish.
Absolutely.
And then we're just kind of topping it. There you go.
Nice. So that goes back into the oven. And you want the oven like around 400. You want it a little higher. Or if you have a broiler, you can set the broiler on. Just be sure to keep an eye on it. Something you do not want to leave because it will burn pretty fast. And I made enough, obviously, for 6-7 potatoes. So just make enough of what you need. If it's only a couple potatoes, obviously you can make less. But otherwise, if you do have leftover, in a Ziploc and into the freezer. And it'll keep well. As long as you're not putting anything raw into it. So that's one thing that I do mention with breadcrumbs. Is if sometimes you're doing an egg coating on chicken cutlets or something like that and putting it into breadcrumbs, those breadcrumbs have to be discarded because it's touched obviously raw food. In this case, it hasn't, so you can obviously save that as well, and it's delicious on many things. It's maple syrup and breadcrumbs.
Yeah. And
what wouldn't it be good on? And Parmesan cheese.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it.
All right. So this is ready to go, really nice and golden brown on top, and it's done. So that's a really nice little side maybe to the chicken, but again, focusing on some more of those sweet flavors.
Yeah.
It's not marshmallows on top. I know you've seen that one. That one I just can't go that far, but we're close. All right, so this is quick. This is an easy one.
Yeah.
Everyone can add this one. Arsenal. Yeah.